you're talking.
Obviously excited to have another opportunity to play, and we know that we have a terrific opponent in Virginia, and they've had an incredible year. Again, a 30-win team that they know what it takes to win. They can hurt you in so many different ways, and we know that we're going to have to really be on top of our game. And but it's here, and we've got to be ready to go.
All right, we'll start with, we'll go second row. We'll start on this side, and then we'll go to that side. So right here in front of me, row 2.
Hey, Coach. Carl Baltimore, District of Buckets. Looking at your opponent, there was a guard for Wright State that was able to actually impact their offense on the perimeter, impact it with steals. And I know Jacoby's really good at doing that himself. Wanted to ask you about the confidence you have in him being able to impact the game with active hands, and how that bodes for you guys in this matchup.
Well, Jacoby's had a terrific year, and certainly one of the best players in all of college basketball, and probably has had as good a year as any player in college basketball. We put a lot on him this year. We've asked a lot from him, and he's far exceeded that in so many different ways. We saw what he did last night. We've seen him do that offensively, but he does impact the game defensively. He's very quick. He's got great anticipation skills. And that's going up against teams that have worked really hard at trying to get the ball out of his hand, trying to keep him from catching the ball, because people know how important he is to us. And he has to work so hard in so many different areas, and his teammates recognize that. Coaching staff, we do, and we need to all help him as much as we can, because we need him to play at that level.
We're going to stay here in the second row, this time on the other side.
Hey, Coach. Mike Barber from Seville right now. Looking at Jakari White for Virginia, obviously a very good outside shooter. He's shown in the second half of the season more of a willingness to drive to the basket. What kind of a challenge does he present for a defensive matchup?
He played a terrific game. I think they would say that he impacted the game for them yesterday the way Jacoby did for us, and can get up off the ground, get a shot off anytime he wants it. But what was impressive was when they pushed out on him, he was able to get by, made some terrific layups, just absolutely some nice shots off the backboard, and so it presents a challenge. And we like our team's defense. We like our individual defense. We think we have guys that can guard the ball, but we've never asked a guy to guard anybody of that caliber one-on-one. It's got to be a team defense, and we'll have to have that again tomorrow.
We're going to stay on this side, end of row 3.
Yeah, Greg Medea from the Daily Progress in Charlottesville. I was wondering, Ryan coached at your alma mater, and you had Bryce Crawford on your staff at Texas. What do you remember about talking to those guys, and then obviously working with Bryce?
Well, it goes back even further than that. Dave Odom, Ryan's father, and I have known each other for a long time, and his wife Lynn, being in the ACC for that long, and just we all, myself, Dave, Kelvin, Sampson, Tubby Smith, we all played in the same league back in the Carolinas back in the day, and so I feel like I've known Ryan forever, and Lane, the family, I just feel like I've known him. But he's done a terrific job. I mean, he was only at Lenore Ryan for a year, but was terrific. He really did a great job. And then Bryce, somebody that I just have utmost respect for, he loves the Lord, and a guy that I'm happy for all of them, because I know how hard they've worked in this business. And Ryan, going from UMBC, coming up the way I think coaches probably should, to understand every level of it. And Virginia did a great job by hiring him as their head coach, and obviously bringing Bryce is something that Ryan's always been very loyal to his staff.
We'll stay on that side, end of row 2.
Rick Jonathan Tannenwald, the Philadelphia Inquirer. By the nature of how the schedule plays out, tomorrow being a night game, you have some time. Today, obviously, and tomorrow. Are you the kind of coach who would want to just be in the hotel the whole time working with your guys, or do you take them out to see some of the cultural sites in town, or whatever it may be?
No, we're not going out to see cultural things. We might show them Rocky or something, something like that. But no, we got back last night, and dinner, obviously waiting for the guys, and the treatments that we do. We're in our routine, what we would do wherever we travel to, and obviously introduced some things about Virginia last night, and then got up today and let them sleep in a little bit, and we prepped the way we would if we were on the road to play someone else, and we're here to do this, and then we'll get back and we'll do just what we always do. We've been at it a long time with all these teams, and but the families are around and they get to spend time. It's not like we lock them down. We want them to get out. I've got a tremendous coaching staff. They work around the clock to keep going, and they won't stop until we feel like we need everything that we need. But in terms of organized things with our team, we don't do that.
We'll come in front of me here, row 3, end of row 3.
Rick Butler, Rocky Top Insider. Rick, you've talked about Jacoby a little bit so far, but why do you believe that he is seeing the floor as well as he has been lately, and especially this last game?
That's a good question. It really is, and I'm not sure I got the exact answer for you, other than that, he's been through a lot. He has seen a lot. He's seen probably more than he's ever seen in his life, and I've spoken about it many times this year. So much of what he's gone through this year is new to him, and he's never played with. It took him a while to understand to play with a lob threat, and the fact that he's got some guys he could do that early in the year. He even had one more before Cade went down, and he had always been more of a pocket pass kind of guy, and he made a couple of those himself again last night. But he's learned so much in terms of, and we do put a lot on our point guard. I mean, he's the guy that's driving the car, and he's learned. I think over the last month, he knows when he's on the interstate and he knows when he's in the city now. And it took him a while to figure that out, but he has learned to handle the different speeds that he needs to play with.
We're going to go right in the middle, row 4. Go ahead.
Vince Wolfram with the College Sports Company. Coach, offensive rebounding and second chance points has been a huge piece of your success so far this year with Virginia and the height that they have on the inside with DeRitter and Grunlow and Onyenso and the shot blocking. What challenges do you think that will pose to your group, and how do you find success against the trees that Virginia has on the inside?
Well, they've had a great year of rebounding the basketball. They're top 10 in the country doing that, and it's something that both teams obviously do, and it'll be a part of the game that they're going to continue to try to get there. We're going to try to get there. We're going to try to keep them from getting there. They're going to try to keep us from getting there. But they're a terrific team, a physical team. They people might say, you look at their size, our size, but both teams are physical, and I think it's going to be that type of basketball game.
We're going to go to the far side. We're going to be in the last row. Yep.
Vince Farrar, 99.1 The Sports Animal in Knoxville. Hey, Rick. So with Bishop yesterday, what did you see from him with a week off in between games in terms of his energy level, recharging the batteries, the turnovers, the fouls, things like that? What did you see in his game yesterday?
Well, I do think he's obviously, he's been dealing with a little bit of a hip flexor, but he fought through that. He turned it over more yesterday than he should, but I thought defensively, he was locked into what we needed him to do, and Vince, we need that from him every night, and if he does that, he just instinctively, offensively, some things will happen for him because of the way we play, the way we move the ball. But we need him. We need every one of our guards. We even put Clarence out there, who hasn't played very much, but we did it because he's been so good all year long with his effort. We just haven't been able to get him in games. But this time of year, you've got to have everybody ready, and so much of it depends on when we're doing our prep. When we think guys are really locked in, knowing what we're trying to do, and we're just trying to have every one of them has to be prepared, and we don't feel like we're getting that from our prep. We might not play them, but if we get it, we're going to play them because we're going to need them all. And we need Bishop to come back and do what when he's locked in defensively. That's when he really plays his best basketball.
We're going to take right there along the curtain, and then we'll go row 4, row 3.
Rick, Great Marathon 3. With Nate's limitations, how does that change the way he plays the game, the way he attacks while compensating for the injuries?
Well, it's a problem. Nate is one of the toughest kids I've ever coached. We played every minute ever since he hurt his ankle in the Alabama game and got his knee rolled up on. He wanted to play. Obviously, doctors knew that we had to try to get him as healthy as we possibly could, but when you have a sprain the nature that he has, it won't be healthy until he gets some time off at the end of the year. But he would tell you there's a lot of guys at this time of year have to play with a little bit of those type things. And in terms of how we're going to play, he'll play the way he plays. And like last night, we could tell he was struggling with it, and that's why we didn't put him back in the game. And thankful that we had the lead that we had, but we did have some other guys that really stepped in and played well. But we need Nate. He knows it, but he'll give us everything that he can, and that's really all I can say about it. Because if it's up to him, he'd play every minute if he could, and we'll see game time.
We're going to go to the end of row 4, staying on that same side. Just raise your hand so we know. Yep.
Kip Coons, Press Box View. Rick, your history with Virginia goes back decades, and you very nearly became the coach at Virginia. And I'm wondering if, in an idle moment, have you ever thought about, gee, what might have happened had you decided to go to Charlottesville instead of, you did end up in the ACC anyway, but if you had taken the job then, how things might have changed?
You know, it's been a long time ago, but, I grew up in North Carolina, grew up all ACC basketball. That's all I knew. And like anybody, I knew all about the Big Four in North Carolina. But once I got my first full-time job at George Mason, I did fall in love with the state of Virginia. I spent so much time recruiting that state, and then had the chance to go, and actually did accept a job, and then decided it wasn't the right time, the right thing to do. And I don't think I thought about it since. I mean, it's a long story, but God is just taking care of me. I can tell you. I think that He is, every step I've taken, I think that He's sovereign over all that. And I just know I've been blessed everywhere I've been. I've had so many really good jobs, and I look back, I've made more mistakes than I can even tell you I've made. But through that whole time, I know that the good Lord carried me through it, because believe me, I've made a lot of mistakes. And the Virginia thing wasn't part of the plan. And like I said, I ended up at Clemson and on to Texas, and now at Tennessee. And I can only tell you I'm a truly blessed man, and I think I thank God for that.
We'll stay on this side, row 3, just inside. Nope. Yep, one inside there. Yep.
Justin Williams from The Athletic. Coach, I realize it's early in this tournament, but the run you guys went on last year in March, have you seen that had any impact on the first game or kind of the mindset coming into this year?
Well, every year is different, and every year that, people talk about the first game being the hardest game, and they're difficult games, because we've seen this tournament bring out the best, sometimes the worst. It creates things that you see people do things that you can't believe it, maybe good or bad, but that once you get going, every game it goes up, and the spotlight, more teams, less teams, more spotlight on those teams, but it still gets back to you got to play good basketball, and all the outside noise, all that, you want your players to enjoy it. You really do. Their families are around. It's the climax of the season. The goal is to get here. The goal is to be the last team standing on Monday night. But every team's different, and some of these guys, this is the first time for them. Some of them, they've gone through it. Do I think it helps when you have teams retention on your team? I do. I thought that carried our last 2 teams. We had guys that knew what it was about, was able to build on it from game to game, and understood that what happened yesterday is over and done with. You got to let it go quick and get on to the next one at an even higher level. And but it's hard, and you've got to just really focus in on playing basketball. And but there's a fine line in your dance, because you do want your guys to enjoy this time, and they do enjoy it. But we know that it's going to end suddenly if you don't do what you need to do to advance.
Staying on that side, row 2, and then we'll come back over here.
Yeah, Rick, Mike Barber, Seville right now again. I'm curious, the Virginia players were talking about your team's physicality, and they said they struggled some in the first meeting with Duke and Miami in terms of physicality. When you're playing the second game of a weekend, how do you get your guys to make sure they come out with that physicality that you guys have been known for?
Well, we do it every day. I mean, we go against each other every day, and we are who we are. Everybody's, I think, this time of year, we all who we are right now. I mean, I'm sure that Ryan's talking to his team. We're not going to show them anything that they haven't seen up to this point, and personnel is important and all that, but what you really hope is that your players play their best basketball. And we have to be who we are. They're going to be who they are, and you hope there's no letdown in that, because you hope your habits eventually take over. And because we all as a staff believe in players that our habits are who we are, and we hope that if we've done the right things that they're going to shine when we need them to shine.
We're going to go row 2 on this side, right here in front of me. Go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Carl Baltimore, District of Buckets. You mentioned a little bit a couple responses ago about recruiting the state of Virginia, and you've got a guy in Nate Ament that you got from that state. What's made you successful getting players from that area? Because it's a very competitive place to try to get talent from.
Well, again, I've got to give my staff all the credit today for recruiting. They kind of push me where I need to go. And back when I started in, the late 70s, early 80s, it was a lot different game than it is today. And we were obviously still know a lot of people up in that area, but Justin Gainey was the lead guy on that, and I think did a great job. Steve McLean, who's on our staff too, was at Texas at the time and spent a lot of time recruiting him. And when they made the decision to change staffs there, we knew we were going to bring him on board with us, and so we've known Nate a lot, and he was a guy that. Once we saw him, and we really went at it with everything that we had, and would hope in the end that we could get him. And arguably, he's not disappointed us in any way, shape, or form. I tell you, he hasn't. And but today, really, the success we've had in recruiting really belongs to our staff, because I think I've got the best coaching staff in the country, and I know we're a highly experienced staff, and I trust their evaluation with players. We evaluate players. We, obviously are going to do all the intel we can get, but the final thing's going to come down to our evaluation, and do they fit what we're trying to get done? And if it's good for them, if it's good for us, we want to make it happen.
We're going to go back on this side in the last row. Just raise your hand so Coach knows who's talking. Go ahead.
Rick, you led into my question. I was going to ask you about your staff. You've always raved about them, and you just did. This time of year, besides the recruiting aspect, but this time of year, how much of a difference maker can a coaching staff make in helping make a deep run in the NCAA tournament?
Well, I think I've got a bunch of head coaches sitting on my bench if they want to be head coaches. I mean, obviously Steve McLean, who I just mentioned, won a national championship at Hutch back in the day and been a head coach. And Justin Gainey's ready to coach any team in the country at any level. Greg Polinsky spent a lot of time in the NBA, 23 years, and then you got Amar Morgan, who this year, and we got a steal there. I mean, he's already made a huge impact. And if I kept going down with it, whether it's Brian Lentz, whose father grew up, played in the Carolina Conference like we all did, been sitting beside his father since he played for him then was a player, a coach at 22 years old, and even Kim Caldwell's husband, who's on our staff in a different role, is so I've got a lot of experience on that bench, a lot, and we got our young GAs. And I really rely on them a lot. I trust them. They work really well together, and we've got a lot of experience in a lot of different areas, and I think what we do in terms of evaluation, if guys really want to get good at basketball, we're the place for them, because we take great pride in what we do with individual work, but we also take great pride in finding guys that fit and guys that want to work. And again, it all goes back to our staff. They're terrific. But I'll say this: in today's game, you can't be successful unless you've got a terrific athletic director. And I said it yesterday. I think Danny White is the best athletic director in the country, and he would tell you he's got two of the best bosses in Randy Boyd and Donnie Plowman that allow him to do what he needs to do. And there's a lot of wonderful things going on at Tennessee in so many different sports, and great coaches there. But the leadership from Danny has been phenomenal, and what he's done in such a short time is something that I tell you, it's really special to be a part of it.
We'll take one last question here in row 3, and then we'll send Coach on his way.
Coach, Justin Williams from The Athletic. You just mentioned how much the game has changed since you started in the 70s. How have you changed as a coach that's allowed you to continue having success?
A lot. I mentioned earlier about my faith, and I really, but when I talk about that, I really mean it, because I look back, I have made so many mistakes as a young head coach, and I was blessed to have Dave Gavitt, who founded the Big East offices, being in Providence. I was young in that league and did have a chance to often have lunch with Dave, and he helped me. He helped me. One of the first big lessons he taught me was how to deal with the media. He said, you better have selective hearing and selective reading. And the one thing he said to me that I've never forgotten, he said, you need to understand, as a coach, those guys' jobs mean as much to them as your job means to you. So you should treat everybody with respect. And he said, you should not be afraid to answer any question, talk about it. And so I've had just great mentors along the way. But when I'm in my room by myself at night and thinking about where I am today, I know that God carried me every step of the way. Because it's hard to believe. I'm at one time was one of the youngest head coaches in the country. Now I'm one of the oldest. And believe me, I know the mistakes I've made, and I could write a book about them. But I pray every day about it, carry my cross with me everywhere I go to remind me that I'm only here for a short time and I want to make the most of it. And that's all to bring glory to his kingdom, and realize that I heard our governor do a speech last week at the National Prayer Breakfast. He said there's very few things in life that matter. Get at it. And I think what he's trying to tell us is there are very few things that really matter. And those are the things you got to put your focus in. That's the things you got to think about. And with me, it's my relationship with Jesus Christ. And I'm doing this, and I do know this. People ask me all the time, when will you stop? He'll make it clear. I look back on my time at Texas, I thought I would finish up there. And when I got fired there, I looked back and I told everybody that I think the AD that fired me, he was the messenger. I think God wanted me at Tennessee, and it's been 10 of the 11 of the best years of my life. And I wouldn't change for anything. And but that's where I am in my stage of life. Now, if I went back to when I was a young coach, it was all about me. It's not about me anymore. It really isn't. And I've learned that. And I learned it the hard way. I made so many mistakes. But I'm just thankful that God has carried me through all this.